Hey there folks, welcome to another Train Sim World 2 video. First things first, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Hope you enjoy your stay. If you're not, my apologies for the lack of content and videos for the last week or two, as I recently got a new PC and I am in the process of just getting used to it, switching everything over. All that good stuff. But anyway, also, I am a bit late to the dance on this because of such reasons. But we're going to be taking a look at Nahverkehr Dresden, which is essentially Dresden to Riesa. Just like if you're familiar, the Train Sim Classic route, which I'm kind of going to compare to this because they're essentially the same route. But anyway, this is it for Train Sim World 2. Nahverkehr Dresden basically means local traffic, I think. That's what Nahverkehr means. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look. It's essentially the second phase of Dovetail's, what they call rush hour. There was the Boston Sprinter, and then Nahverkehr Dresden, which we got here. Now, they initially ticked quite a few people off because they got rid of a branch line, which was supposed to come with the route upon release, but that obviously did not happen. So now they're talking about adding it for free at a later date, which you can find more information about on the Dovetail website. But of course, I'm playing on PC. I'd also like to note that I've got a skybox mod on here, which I will link down below, just in case you think the sky looks a little bit different. And I'm using INI settings as well, so things may look a little different as far as brightness, color, contrast, shadows, things of that nature. But anyway, let's take a look at what you get with the route itself. As you can see, I am a pleb in my level 1. As you can see up here at the top, I was like level 80 something. It doesn't really matter. You know, there's no progress, so to speak. But anyway, what you get is quite a lot with this route. Now, none of these locomotives are new per se to the game. They've been in other routes and standalone DLCs, but you get quite a few, such as what we're looking at here, the BR363 DBB. This is a fantastic little locomotive, probably one of the best out of this lineup here as far as I'm concerned. It's fun, it looks amazing, it's old school, it feels nice, it's got great sounds. But when this was out for Train Sim World 2 initially, it was just in the DB Red livery. This is in the other livery. It's kind of like a blue and cream. So you get this with the route. You get the BR 146.2, which is kind of like an overall German, you know, intercity. Well, not intercity, kind of just regional passenger train. This was in the game already to begin with as well, but you get this as part of it. You also get the BR143 and the DB Red livery as well, which is not a new engine. Again, you know, if you're new to this and you don't have this route, all these engines are going to be new, so it's kind of a great bundle in that sense. But if you'd already had them, you know, it's nothing different really. Here you got the Dusto Cab Car. It does have a new livery slightly. It's like VVO. I'm not entirely sure what that stands for, if I'm honest. But this was in Train Sim World 1, as with this one and this one. You also get this, the BR185.5 in MRCE livery. This is a freight engine, and it looks very nice as well. Again, this comes with it. The BR112.1, which came with Hamburg-Lübeck. And then this right here, the DBBR101, which is, in my opinion, one of the best German engines in the game. This does not come with the route, but if you have it and you have purchased it separately, it will be layered in to the workings or the services or what have you within this add-on. So you'll be able to use it, you'll see them, etc. The ICE, the BR406, I believe this is the Cologne-Aachen ICE. You get this as well, and of course The Hamster, also known as the BR442 Talent 2. Now, I think the difference with these is there's like a low door and a high door variant. Here it's a low door for this region. So you get this as well. So that's quite a lot of rolling stock. So there's quite a bit to do here. You've got 6 scenarios. Fairly different. This one looks pretty cool. I've been eyeballing this one. It's like a power move where you're just hauling a ton of other engines. Chemical plant zone, wrong road, Pitian predicament, there and back again, follow the leader, towing the line. So you got quite a few to work with here. Again, if you buy this separately, I believe it's $29.99. If you buy the Rush Hour Season Pass, it's like $29.99, and you get all 3 routes. So that's what I've got. I did not purchase this separately. It came with the Season Pass. Now, as far as the timetable, it has aplenty. Just at random, I'll hop in the Talent 2. We'll just do clear September. So this is just for the Talent 2 right here, right? And you have got an absolute ton of services to do here. We'll try and pick one midday. There's a tiny little branch to the north, just north of Coastfix, which is like kind of like a suburb of Dresden. You can see it on the map over here. It's that little northern bit. We'll start there if I can. Forget the name of it. I think it's Grossenine, possibly. Now, what's weird with a map is like you can't see the route. On some old routes and add-ons, you could see the route itself, which is kind of strange. Let's see. Anyway, Grossenine to Coastfix. Let's try that here. Next and last, of course, was there on the screen. It's going to be the, whatever they're going to call it, London Commuter, with their new naming for whatever reason they chose to do so. But it's the Brighton main line, essentially, with, I think, a 387, which is basically just an Electrostar. Alright, where are we at? Yes, so we are on this little northern bit here. So this is the main line down here. And there's actually 2 lines, which is what's, if I'm honest, fairly interesting about this route in itself. It kind of reminds me a bit of Rhein-Ruhr-Osten, which was one of my favorite German routes with Train Sim World 2020, or the first Train Sim World, if you will. It's got 2 separate lines. Now, it essentially looks the same. It's, there's towns, neighborhoods, farmland, stuff like that all through here, but variety is nice. So we're up in Grossenine. Grossenheim, however it's pronounced. Just go ahead and take a look around here. So the back end is this way. You cannot go much farther than here. That's one of the things you will notice. We'll go back and check that out. Yeah, you can't really go much farther here. This is the top little branch of this new route. That right there. So first off, one of the very first things I noticed with this route is the actual network itself, the rails and the ballast. They look pretty good for Train Sim World standards, and what we normally get with the horrible patterning of the ballast. Yes, I know, dramatic. This looks pretty darn good. And then they've got the concrete ties, or sleepers, if you will, whatever you want to call them. And it just looks nice overall. It really does. There are specific signs to the route because different areas of Germany have specific signs, and some have their own signaling and things like that, just like in the UK or the US or elsewhere. There is a ton of level crossings on this route. Not around Dresden so much, but the outer bits. This is one of them. They do work. This is something else you'll see, is these old towers here, which is pretty cool, which of course are in disuse today, if I'm not mistaken. Now, something else you'll notice, which I've certainly noticed, is they've done something different with well, the foliage, the grass, trees, plants, shrubs, weeds, all that, overall, it looks slightly different. And once you get out to the open kind of farmlands and fields, you'll notice that even more. But I don't know if it's a new thing they're trying or they just took extra special care here, but it looks great in some areas. Whereas, like, for instance, Boston Sprinter, some of the areas I wasn't so pleased with personally when you head down towards Providence was, you know, there's a lot of just really bare areas, and it looks terrible because it's a lot of green land, you know, when you get past Reading Junction heading towards Providence. But they kind of tweaked it up a bit here. Here's another level crossing, complete with the tower. But it looks pretty clean overall. The buildings look nice. They added Euro tags, which, you know, they should have, obviously, the long, flat, skinny tags. Here's part of the main line there, I believe. Or it's just the other line. So anywho, Dresden is down here, and then Riesa is up here. So this is not Coastfix, sorry. This is Grossenheim, which, you know, is essentially kind of like a little spur, almost a branch line, but you're going to have quite a few services, mainly with the Talent 2 here, that are going to run from here into Dresden, if I'm not mistaken. But they did pretty well with the platforms. I'd like to note on as well. This concrete looks, you know, the texture and everything, and the shading on it looks pretty darn nice, if I'm honest. They don't always look this good in most Train Sim World routes. These are definitely passable. They look fine. The buildings look pretty good. You know, the signs as well. Something about it. I feel like they could just, I don't know. Some of them look too cartoony sometimes, or play-like, if you will. Like they just need to be weathered a bit or something. I'm not sure, but they just look too clean. But they look all right for what they are. You've got the little, you know, weather-free waiting areas in here. People as well. If I'm not mistaken, I think they have their own kind of look and clothing on this route as well. So you see a lot of the puffy jackets and, you know, different color clothing and things like that. I don't remember seeing a lot of these people on Boston Sprinter. Maybe they just changed the colors up or something like that. But a little bit of the town. Got a shop back here. But, you know, here's the Grossenheim station. It's not the best looking station, you know, but it's all right. It does have working passenger information displays as well. We'll see if we can find one here for the most part. So here we've got Prieschwitz to Niederau, Feinbühler, Hbf. And then I think that's us going to Dresden, or it should be, but we're not actually going to make it there today because we're not taking this train. So that works as well on the trains too. You'll see RB31. Now it doesn't display the name. I have also heard reports of, you know, some people saying in Discords and forums and random places that this doesn't always work. Sometimes it'll be blank. As a lot of the loco, the rolling stock on this route are not new to me. I'm not really going to be taking a look at them. If that's what you would like to see, I'm sorry, maybe a Let's Play or gameplay videos at some point. But I'm mainly going to be, as always, like I like to often do, taking a look at the route itself. So anyway, this, like I said, is Grossenheim. Next, we'll head down to Dresden and see how that looks. Alright, so we are now in Dresden. Now, one thing I'd also like to note that many people have noted is there are performance issues on this route. Now, I'd also like to note that the PC I had before had a fairly old CPU. This game doesn't really access multiple cores as it should, which I believe is most of the problem. I've got a much more beefier system now. It's, you know, it's not top of the line NASA equipment, but it's much better than what I had. But just to preface and give you a baseline here, when I was messing around with this route when it came out on my old machine, I would get pretty low frame rate here. I had a 1700X, Risen 1700X, and a 1660 Ti graphics card with 16 gigabyte system memory and all that good stuff. Now I've got a 6700 XT and a Risen 7 3700X with 16 gigabytes of memory. So for me it's a big upgrade. It's nothing new or flashy or crazy, but it's notably better. So one of the things you'll probably see is there's going to be heavy stuttering here once I click begin, and I don't know if it's just the world around us loading in or what, but it was highly noticeable on my older system, and it's still noticeable here. So anyway, here we go. So it's stuttering a bit. It's got like these little hiccups here and there, and they'll probably happen prominently again once we get out of here. Now, I did load into here earlier before I started making this video, and so I think that may have like somehow pre-cached some things, because it doesn't seem as bad this time, of course, now that I want to show you, the viewer. But anyway, let's go ahead and run this thing up to the next station. Put the key in. Make sure we got the brake key unlocked. Gonna go ahead and open the doors. For the sake of keeping this video nice and smooth, I'm not gonna do any CIFA, which I do not like with a passion, or PZB, which I do like and appreciate learning nowadays. Just for the sake of buttery velvetyness, I'm just gonna leave that stuff off. Go ahead and fix our lights. If you do not have this engine, which by the way is the DBBR 101 Intercity, and the coaches it comes with, I highly recommend it. It's easily one of the best add-ons you can get for Train Sim World. Go ahead and lock the doors. Now, this was an individual release when it came out, and it looked and sounded and felt phenomenal. As with a lot of the stuff that a fella named Mike Gotts from TSG, does third-party work for Dovetail and Train Sim World. He created this and helped create it. A lot of his stuff is always very good that's in the game, but it somehow managed to have sounds broken, whereas before the sound, like the horn for example on this thing, was very smooth. It had a nice loop to it. It didn't abruptly end or anything like that. You hear that cut right at the end? That was added with this for whatever reason. So I hope they fix that. They probably never will, because it is Dovetail we're talking about here. But it's a shame that was broken, because it was definitely a lot smoother before. Anyway, we are in Dresden Hbf. We'll go ahead and take a look around here. For those of you that may not know, this is in the Saxony region of Germany. We are in the extreme eastern bit of Germany, just about, what are we, like north of Prague, and just that way a hair is Poland, like not that far at all. And then up this way is Leipzig. You'll see some lines up here kind of diverge off that way. But anyway, I do have some understanding of this area just from the Train Sim Classic version, which I have, and is a really damn good German route for what it's worth. I really do enjoy it, especially to be from Dovetail, which they produced and developed it themselves. For the most part, it was a really good route for Train Sim Classic, so I felt like they'd have a good handle on it for this. You know what I mean? They kind of did the same thing with Clinchfield and all that. So anyway, the signals, the towers, the masts all look good. They didn't do that crazy thing like they did with Rapid Transit initially, where it had this weird shimmering kind of effect. The station house on its own looks pretty good. It's got the shape, but things like this, you see how muddy that is, that texture? That's just bad, That should be a little more crisp for the kind of game and the engine that this game uses here. Like, when you look at this all looks really good. This whole signal, that is really nice looking. And then you look at this. You know, I guess they pick their battles with, you know, what they should increase and what they shouldn't and stuff like that. I figure, you know, they probably think not many people are going to see or care, so they don't care about stuff like that as much as they would other things. The actual station house itself, this is what it looks like in Dresden. This material up here is almost like a I don't know what it is. If it's like a plastic or a rubber, almost like a hot air balloon substance or something, but I feel like it's kind of stretchy and wrinkly. You can see it a bit better here on the inside. It's kind of molded and formed to these cages here, which, you know, these look pretty nice compared to like the exterior wall we just looked at. So Dresden's unique because it's got these kind of dead-end terminals here down on what they call the lower level, or underground, kind of, if you will. And then they've got the upper levels, which run through. So that would continue south down to like towards Prague, I believe. And then, of course, that way, you know, up to Leipzig, Riesa, maybe, you know, Poland if you headed east. So upper and lower levels, from what I know, this all looks pretty legit. These lights and stuff all look pretty good. That's pretty much what it looks like for the most part. It's a massive station. Here we go. This is part of the new livery I was talking about. It's still DB Traffic Red, I think, what it's called, but it's got this additional VVO. And if I'm honest, I'm not sure what it is. And again, it's not the sharpest thing, you know. When you look at some other things, it just like, look at these numbers; those look good, and then the letters, it's like totally different. Good, bad, good, bad. So I'm not sure what goes on with that. The stock itself, it looks pretty damn good. I mean, look at just the weathering along this top bit here, the silver bit, and the glass and whatnot. That, you know, it's got its smearing and marks and stuff like that. That looks all right. I've never had a problem with the Doppelstock in the cab car. And of course, this one is present with the display as well, where it's going, where it's headed, where it's leaving. Yeah, so this is Dresden. The buffers look pretty good. The bumpers, they seem to be kind of focusing on stuff like this, as with the last few routes, like Cathcart Circle, the Scottish commuter route. You know, they got the buffers legit. Boston Sprinter, you know, where there are some, they look pretty legit. And these, you know, they certainly look good. They're custom made. It's, you know, it's not the sharpest texture and paint on there, but it's, you know, from a decent distance like here, it's pretty darn good. They look nice. They do look nice. I'm not sure what that says, but it's not much going on there. I don't know if that's supposed to be like that, honestly, but it looks like, you know, something like that would be cool if it were fixed. The stone or whatever this is on the wall in here looks pretty good. You know, overall, on Train Sim World 2 grand scale, is it the best looking station? No, but it's a pretty cool looking station. If I'm honest, it's pretty nice. It's definitely unique. It's got all the little walkway bits. We'll see how far it lets us go here. That's a dead end. Very nice. We'll go up to the upper level. So the actual building is like back here. It's a train that just came in here, upper level. So we'll head out the back here. It's essentially a dead end back here. We are in the heart of Dresden for the most part. The old section of Dresden is over this way. You'll see some of those spires and peaks over there. There's like a famous cathedral. I think there's a castle over there somewhere in real life. A theater, opera house, things of that nature. It's a very very historic city. What wasn't lost during World War II that may have been rebuilt. It's a pretty cool looking city though. From what I hear and from what I've seen, I'd definitely like to see it in person one day. There's not much going on back here because you're not going to go back here. There's nothing that way in the game. But this is the exterior building here, which they did a pretty good job with. I mean, it looks all right, like especially from this distance. They did put the clocks on, which is nice. I'll give them that. The time is correct as well. In Train Sim Classic, they did not. They had the clock faces, but they didn't have the hour, minute, and second hands for whatever reason. It's a little less detailed down here on the street, which runs under here, as you can see. That's probably not supposed to happen. But the building itself does look nice. It's a little less busy than Train Sim Classic. Like I said, down here, there's just a lot more going on. Kind of bland, but I mean, the building itself looks pretty good. It's a nice looking station exterior-wise, and it pretty much looks like this in real life. Another thing you'll notice is these two engines you have back here. I think these are pretty much always back here. Every time I've selected a scenario and come back here, these two engines are sitting back here, which is kind of cool. They're ready for service instead of just having this area completely blank. There's an ICE, which is another very cool thing about this station is you'll see all kinds of different traffic and even freight running through here. But here's the upper level, of course. We were on the lower a moment ago. But like if we're going to talk about just the cityscape overall, just looking at that, that looks pretty good in my very humble opinion. That's a pretty nice cityscape, especially because it's kind of hiding the ground in the road, which is always very lacking in Train Sim World stuff. Like I said, they got to pick and choose what they want detailed. They gotta save space, computing power, memory, all that good stuff for the consoles and whatnot, and lower end PCs. So they've kind of built a one size fits all. But this is Dresden, so we'll go ahead and get the train moving here. We're going to go up to Dresden Neustadt, or Neustadt, whatever it's pronounced like, which is the next station, just across the river. There we go, we are moving. So this is a pretty large yard as well. Sometimes you'll see a shunt engine down here. There's a big bus depot, hence all the buses up here. Something else that I think is missing is there's a light rail area over here, like a little metro, if you will. In real life, it's over here, or I'm fairly certain it's over here, because it kind of matches with the bus depot as well as the standard rail train station too. But the light rail, tram, metro, whatever you want to call it, runs all throughout Dresden. You can see it in various parts of the route. They did not add that here for whatever reason. It's in the Train Sim Classic version, and I thought it was a cool touch, even though there's no stock itself, which is another thing I feel like they could have done, because there's our train there. Even if it's not a drivable option, these trams I'm talking about, it would be very cool to see them. They did something sort of like that with, again, for the second time, one of my favorite routes, the Rhein-Ruhr-Osten route. There's this hanging tram called the Schwebebahn, and they've got that in the route, and they actually show the cars that you ride in. So, if they could do something like that, they could certainly do something like that with trams, I would imagine. Anyway, we'll slow the train down a bit, go over a few things here. This yard in itself is pretty cool, so it stays lower level, upper level. There's tons of bridges, different overpasses. There's a lot going on through here. This is one of my little favorite areas right here that I noted from Train Sim Classic. Now, this does not look good. There was a big stutter there. I'm sure you saw that. That needs to be fixed. Huge gap. Just now noticing that. These are new as well, I believe, these little markers here. But this area right here, it's kind of like a little ramp You know, trains come up out. So if you're off to the side like this, and you know, it's almost like watching a submarine blow its tanks or something, and it just it comes up over the surface. It's cool to see. Anyway, it's got the nice stone wall, which is legit. This is here. It's fairly dark, or it is in this present scene, but you know, little details they got pretty good. I felt like they would get, like I said, being that they made it for Train Sim Classic, so they, you know, they had their heads screwed on right with that for the most part. It's a little footbridge right here. I don't know if this is for... That's weird looking. I don't know if they got something mixed up here or what. That's funky looking. Maybe it's supposed to look like that. It's just different quality of like cast in the cement or concrete or whatever. But this bridge down here is nice, and this fence railing, it's very good as well. It's kind of got that old iron look. It's kind of hard to see. We'll go over here and look. There you go. Yeah, like even this is one of those views that it's just nice to me, you know, and it's almost like they built it from this angle, you know, this scene here. It does look pretty good. They've got all these plants and overgrown crap down here, which is nice, by this little spur. So, that is weird. Maybe it's supposed to be like spray paint or something. So, the route goes this way, yes. If we were to continue on this way, there's a massive, massive yard, and the network company that takes care of, you know, the rail and stuff like that for DB has an office right over here. I'm not sure if it's built here. It doesn't really look like it is. But they keep engines over here as well. Of course, the nuclear plant looking thing you see there, I believe it is indeed a power station, but I believe it's a natural gas power station. That, of course, is a cooling tower. I don't know if the cooling tower looks like that in real life or not, but I think it's a liquid natural gas plant that's over in this area. But there's a huge freight yard over here. And again, they did pretty damn swell with this foliage down here. I mean, it's not sporadic. That's one of the things I always notice, because it looks more lifelike to me. You know, instead of just having a bare-ass ground texture, which doesn't ever look good. So I don't know if it's a new technique or what, but it does look really nice. And there's also there's like an old heritage kind of rail museum, I believe, if you will, down here on the left, as well as a turntable. I'm not sure if they added it or not. That might be... I cannot remember the name of the company, but kind of like you know, in the UK and Network Rail, it's kind of like the same thing. They take care of the tracks, if you will, over the course of Germany. I think this is their yard right here, and that's their like regional office there. So trains do come in and out of here, so they are pathed and portaled. It's a nice looking station, almost said station, tower, complete with a clock, which is pretty cool, and it does work. More of the power station over yonder. So I'm assuming maybe you can do some deadhead type stock moves over here or something. It does look pretty nice. They didn't really spend too much time on this area in Train Sim Classic, if I'm honest. It's a lot more fleshed out here, which is nice. It looked nothing like this in Train Sim Classic. The good looking tower, that looks really good. That's pretty nice there. The brick, the chunks missing. That looks pretty darn good there. So anyway, that's the yard out of Dresden. We'll run back up here towards the city. Get our train going here. Just stopped in the middle of the rail network, which is not ideal. There we are right there. Dresden Station back yonder, or HBF. Now the old, I believe it's Baroque style is what it's called. If I'm incorrect on anything, please feel free to let me know down in the comments. But this is part of the old city here that you see in the distance, and you can see a bit further up as Dresden sits on the river Elbe. And this route, for the most part, kind of follows the river. Here's one of the first local stations here, I believe S-Bahn possibly. That's a nice looking building over here. Not sure what those are supposed to be. Kind of looks like a rock climbing or something. But I like this kind of privacy glass thing that they got going on through here. I don't know if it's actually glass or wires or what, but it looks pretty good. It's nice. Very chic. Sassy. The glass, of course, looks nice. The weathering through there. And they've got the buildings legit. You know, they didn't really skimp on buildings. This area has quite a few notable landmarks, and they did an alright job with them. These streets here. Okay, that's messed up. These streets go into the older part of Dresden here. There's another pretty considerable yard this way as well. In real life, not in the game. Huge stuttering there. I'm sure you saw. We're pausing. It's obviously not there, but it's there in real life. I believe it's like an intermodal yard. Volkswagen has got a pretty large facility that's going to be over there to the left. So it's a shame that wasn't added. Anyway, here we are again, just dead stopped in the middle of the track. Get going again. This thing's quick. I keep trying to start it up and letting it run, but it just gets away from me. But, you know, little bits like this, they didn't leave blank. I like seeing stuff like this. The fencing, the pipe, pallets, weeds, all that good stuff. It's there. You know, it looks lived in, worked on. Got a big old crane. I don't think this one is animated. In the last game and years past, I think they were animated. Maybe they're not all animated, but they're all over the place, as you can see. All over the skyline here. You've got more old Dresden in the distance there, and another station up here, and a bit of stuttering. This is where you'll see some stuttering right before you get to the river, and up here at Dresden Neustadt is where I get the heaviest stuttering. It's weird. I don't know if it's just the rest of the route loading in or what. Also, in real life, I believe the tram runs down here and then crosses over and under and then over the river. Because it's weird that they added dotted lines here, right? But not on that side, so I'm not sure what that's all about. But overall, like, the rail network and the stations, like, thus far out of Dresden and around the Dresden area look pretty damn good. Check these out. Alright, those are live and legit. Alright, we'll go ahead and pull off the throttle again here. It's a great looking city, though, in real life, and they did a pretty darn good job in the game as well. I feel like they did with Boston. You know, they always seem to kind of focus all their detailed efforts in like one city per route. You know, there's a couple more cranes, non-mobile, but they look nice sitting there. You know, they just add to the overall look. So here you go. This bit right here in the middle, this I believe is the tram network, because you can see right there, or maybe it's the buses. Maybe they got rid of the trams. They used to have trams anyway. I don't know. Again, if you know, please let me know in the comments. Now this over here, this interesting looking building, of course looks like a mosque. It is not a mosque. It was a tobacco, cigar, and cigarette factory built to look like a mosque. And the whole thing was, I guess the guy that owned it used Turkish tobacco, because that's, that's a famous thing with tobacco, I guess, Turkish tobacco. And kind of built it to represent the area and the look. The minarets that you see here, when it was a factory, it's no longer a factory, were actually the smokestacks. So it was kind of cool that it was meant to look like a minaret, but smoke would come out. It's now offices, a public area. You can have weddings, whatever, birthdays, quinceañeras, brisks, whatever. I don't know what they do here, but stuff like that. You can just... It's like a hall, if you will. And then this dome right here, it's not entirely detailed. You can't get very close to it. I'm kind of stuck right here with the camera. It looks legit. This is what this building looks like, and they did a pretty good job with it. But the top looks a little muddy. But in real life, that's a really gorgeous thing. I've seen pictures of it, and having the light shine through when you're inside, it's a very nice, like, mosaic type. Stained glass type dome. Now there's a park right here, which you can obviously tell. There's another big stutter. I've actually got traffic lights down there as well. I just noticed that. This area right here is like a Congress / United Nations place thing. It's also a hotel. It's very new age. It wasn't built too long ago. This was not in the Train Sim Classic. They did add this in this iteration, which is pretty cool. Now you can see all the rest of the older buildings down there. There's an old palace, or what they call the castle. There's an opera house, cathedral, a couple of notable landmarks down that way. And looking from here, they did a pretty darn good job. It's a very nice scene just looking, down this river and the river walk here. Got a couple of boats sitting in the river. It's just a nice scene. Over here, it's kind of like a promenade on the left side, the other side of the riverbank here. It's just like a green area in real life. I guess you can just walk, walk your dog, jog, bike, whatever you want to do. And there are a couple boats, but I've seen and heard rumors. It's not... I'm building it up. It's not that crazy. There's possibly a barge that comes through here every now and then. So keep your eyes open, I guess. There we go, freight train. This route is busy. Once again, it's as busy or more busy than Boston Sprinter, might I add. Now the bridge as well, I'm going to try and get out of this locked area with the camera if it'll let me. No, it's not letting me. That sucks. This bridge is very cool in real life, and they did a hell of a job with it in Train Sim Classic, and they did an equally good job with it, as far as I know, in Train Sim World 2. It's got all the right markings for where you should go onto the bridge, things of that nature, what side you need to be on. The brick and the stonework all look pretty good. It's got a lot of bird crap where bird crap should be. Yes, that is all bird crap, by the way. Pretty sure it is. And then here's the auto bridge over here for cars, transportation, and whatnot, which looks equally good. It's a shame I can't get out of this kind of locked area right here to look at it, but it's nice. And again, the distant city like that looks pretty darn good. I feel like it looks a little bit better than Train Sim Classic to a degree, but because in Train Sim Classic, like, some of the steeples were like misaligned with some of the buildings, and it looked weird, but it still looked good. And then another thing that I'm not as impressed with, that I was impressed with TS Class, I can't even talk now, I'm having a minor stroke, is the lack of greenery and trees and bushes and stuff down here, which there is in real life. I don't think it's that open, unless something's changed over time, but stuff I've seen, it doesn't quite look like that. I don't know. Anywho, so yeah, River Elbe, cool bridge. Coming into the next station, which is Neustadt or Neustadt or Neustadt, however you say it. This is a newer, more modern bit of the town, Dresden. There's the tower, the old tower for it. It's fairly industrious over here, but it's mainly neighborhoods, if I'm not mistaken. Flats, houses, all that good stuff. Dovetail likes to do their donkey thing, so there's like a gold donkey. Yeah, something they do. They add donkeys to things, routes. Although that one's pretty clear to see. I think they did the same thing with like Munich Augsburg or one of those routes. But anyway, this is Dresden Neustadt up here. There is a line that goes off this way, which I'll show you on the map here. She's got a considerable yard. I'm not sure if you can go through it in this game, but it's there. The bridge looks pretty nice, the brick bridge. Ton of traffic coming through here as well. This area, oddly enough, is where I get the worst performance. Now, it kind of makes sense if you think about it, because in Dresden Hbf, the main station back there, there's really nothing around as far as scenery. When you're here, you're surrounded by the city. There's a ton of buildings that way, that way, that way, that way, basically 360 degrees. You can see a new tower that way, which is pretty nice. I don't think that was in Train Sim Classic either. But the city looks pretty good. I mean, visually, aesthetically, they did a pretty darn good job with this route. This station as well, the metalwork and how it looks in the game, transferred into the game, is pretty nice. In a lot of ways, I think it looks better than HBF, the main station. There's a weird little thing going on with that, if you want to nitpick or rivet count. But again, it's a multi-platform station, kind of in the outskirts of Dresden, if you will. But it's a nice station. The lighting is nice, which is something we'll note on a bit later, is the lighting. They did something new with the lighting on this route, by the way. This is us, 13 minutes late. Totally fine. I got bad news for you folks. The train's never going to show up, so you might as well catch another one. Anyway, jest aside, one of the things I wish they'd kind of done a little better on are these signs, and that's what happens when you get too close, by the way, which you just saw. These signs look like crap, I'm blunt. That's me. I'm an open book, But I can't help it. When I look at these signs, they just look like dog crap. Like someone couldn't spend a little more time sharpening that up, and that came across someone's desk or email or whatever, and someone signed off on that. It just looks like ass. I'm sorry. Part of it, like, look at the corners. That one's like straight cut. The other one's just the same. It's not purty. It is not purty. The rest of the station looks pretty nice. Like this little ticket house or whatever the heck this is right here, bathroom. Like that's fairly ornate. That looks pretty darn good, if I'm honest. But yeah, Dresden Neustadt. So anyway, we will continue on down the line. That is pretty much it for Dresden. As you continue this way, it heads to the airport, the Dresden airport. This track and this route does not go that way. This line right here does. It does not go that way. We'll be going this way here, kind of branching off and going east. Well, not east. Totally got my directions wrong. West. Kind of westerly, northwest, and then due west once we get up there to Riesa. But I'm going to try to cover this as much as possible, so I'm going to try and do it in sections here. We're not going to look at the entire route overall because a lot of it is farms and grass. So I don't think I need to see it. I don't think you need to see it. But I'll try and check out the more notable areas. But this is a very nice area as well. There's a couple of bridges that intersect and trains cross. And this embankment right here, that looks pretty nice, Dovetail isn't always known for knocking stuff like this out of the park. That's pretty smooth. You know, this angle. In Train Sim Classic and Train Sim World, blunt, sharp angles like this in terrain, they rarely look good. You know, they usually look like crap. But this was done pretty well. And you'll see several things along the route that look like this. The bridges look legit. In real life, I thought they were darker. Maybe they're not. These look almost light gray or white. I thought they were darker anyway. Some of these houses, very new age, with their solar solar Powell. Not sure what I was trying to say there. But they did update a lot of the buildings. You can see that in just the textures and the way the roofs look and shutters on the windows, things like that. But this area right here is cool. Alright, so that is it for around Dresden. Next up, we're going to head to Coastfix. Alright, well, I know I said that we're leaving Dresden, and we are, but first I'd like to touch on one of the things about this route and how it was designed, and kind of a new way or new direction, or could just be specifically for the route. Well, think back on kind of how Boston Sprinter was winterized. They built it around winter for whatever reason. Well, this one, Nahverkehr Dresden, is built around nighttime or early morning or dusk. And as you can see just by this ride out of Dresden Hbf, the night lighting and the lamps have been considerably overhauled, whereas before everything was always kind of white, just a bright white HID LED color. You could almost never see the sky itself. Even right now, you can see the moonlight being cast on the ground, shadows and whatnot. You can actually see the sky and the stars, whereas in most Train Sim World routes in the past, in nighttime it was just dark AF, just pitch black, like no sky. And that's not really quite how it looks in real life. I mean, yes, there are some very dark areas with zero light pollution, but this is a large, you know, metropolitan area, and you can definitely see that they've changed something. You know, just looking at the street lights, the lights over the rail network itself, you know, the buildings in the city and the windows, the lights in the foreground up on those cranes. It just looks notably different, and I'm going to speed a little bit and drive like a maniac here. But I'm going to get up to the bridge over the Elbe real quick, and that's one of the most notable areas. Hopefully we don't spad first. So yeah, it's still dark, it's still nighttime, but I'm not sure how well this is going to convey through into the video, but I can definitely see it would make doing nighttime services, you know, less of a ball ache and avoid, you know, because I would avoid them like the plague initially. But if this is anything to go on with what they look like now, this is pretty great. So this is coming into Dresden, new stat. Probably going to pass a red, so we'll go back up here over the bridge. So there it is. That looks great, especially just shining on the water like that as well. But anyway, on to Coastfix. Alright, so this is Coastfix. It's just, well, I think it's about northeast of Dresden itself. It's kind of like a suburb of Dresden, if you will. It's several miles outside the city. But it's a lot more, I guess you could say a lot more of a relaxed area compared to Dresden. So a lot more busy, more neighborhoods, homes, houses, little shops, things of that nature. And it's a fairly large interchange here. Let me show you where we're at on the map. So this is us. this is Dresden here. This is Neustadt. And then this goes all the way. So this service here originates in Coastfix, and it's going to go up to Grossenheim, which is where we started the video off, which is up here. It's kind of like a little bit of a branch line. But anyway, we're just going to get rolling here. We're not going to try and be too more prototypical at all. We're just going to ride up the line here and take a quick peek. So again, it's a nice station. There's a pretty considerable yard here, you can see, with quite a bit of freight sitting here in the siding. It's fairly busy as well. It's just a little area over here which looks pretty nice. Overgrown, dead line, bunch of just weeds and grass and everything atop it now. Nature taking back over. Anyway, so this heads westerly. I guess you could say it actually goes more north, and then that way is back to Dresden. But yeah, it's like a suburb. This up here is the station itself, which I believe is a new asset. It looks pretty nice as well. It's almost got like a colonial look to it, if you will. But the platforms again are very nice. They did well with the lighting and the overhanging bit itself. It's all very clean. A lot cleaner than I expected it to be honest. So the farther you go from here, see if we can catch up to the train here, the more rural it becomes, the more farmland, quite industrial. The farther you go. It's a little branch off here. I have no clue where this goes. It's like a couple of industries back there. It's like we got kind of a creek there, a dry creek bed. But they did a really good job with the foliage on this route. It seems totally different than normal. There's another considerable yard up here on the left. But anyway, this route, you know, it's going to cover all types of different operations. There's shunting, you know, long haul freight, S-Bahn, intercity, express with the ICEs, and of course regional trains. So there's quite a bit you can do, and that's one of the things that I've always enjoyed about the German stuff. In fact, I've said it before. I think the German stuff in Train Sim World 2 is, without a doubt, some of the best content in the game, just for the sheer fact of there always seems to be quite a bit of layering, you know, with all kinds of different locomotives and services and things like that. But it's definitely more peaceful out here. You're going to keep coming across these little towers, which is nice. There aren't many of these in any of the other routes, if I'm not mistaken, the German routes. But this fencing here, I don't know if that's new or not, but it looks nice. It's a nice touch. I don't recall seeing that before. You can still see some of the stuttering as I look around. This route, for whatever reason, is kind of plagued with that. For those of you that have the Hamburg-Lübeck route that they did several months back, it kind of does the same thing. Now that's a nice scene looking there through all these little gardens. I don't know if these are like homes or what's going on there. Overgrown like a mofo. But it's 2D. What's up? That's kind of random. That's weird. Now there is quite a bit of like fake 2D or like 2.5D, whatever it's called. That's just straight up two-dimensional there. That's very much out of place and strange. All right, we're hauling butt up here. So it's still a pretty high level line. It doesn't really become a level crossing line until, you know, the further you get down the railroad itself. Let's see if I can get through here, or is it going to stop us? I don't want to have to stop if I can help it. This is the next station. I think it's Weinbühler. Not entirely sure. I hope I somewhat got that pronunciation right. But the more you go this way, the way the train is headed, you know, north and then kind of westerly. The more hilly and picturesque and scenic it gets, you can see some more new stuff with these little station platforms. They look pretty good. I don't know if that's like vinyl or etched on the glass, but it looks nice. We're going to get hit by a red. There it is. Alright, well that's Coastfix. On to the next. Alright, well that SPAD was unfortunate. Anyway, moving on. We are further up the line towards Riesa. We were somewheres about just in here. There aren't too many things of major note in this area. It's just really nice scenery for the most part. It's rather hilly, twisty. It looks pretty good, but I'd say from about here on to here, everything looks the same scenery-wise. Here, there's a little bit of a ridge line, hence the curves in the track there. But anyway, we're out in the little shunter, the 363, and these are some of the services that I have played around with so far, and I do enjoy them. This is a chemical plant here where we're currently parked, and you can see that magnificent son of a gun in the background. In terms of a major chemical plant, this is one of them I think Dovetail's pumped out for Train Sim World as a whole. I've always enjoyed the Tees Valley line bit and all the steelworks and smelters and places like that on the TVL, but this is a whole nother level. This is massive. But anyway, we'll first take a look at the scenery. So a lot of the scenery, what you're going to see, looks like this. It's just rolling farmland. And again, you know, to me, this is why I find this particularly nice. Vegetation is paramount. It just, you know, if you're not in a city, it just makes everything look so much more natural and realistic. Now, they've gone with the normal kind of grass and weeds and, you know, whatever that stuff is on the ground. And then there's distant scenery, different types of, you know, whatever they're growing out there, grain, whatever the heck it is. And you've got this grass. Now, this is kind of like, I guess it's just 2D. They just placed it in a way, you know, smartly, I guess, if you want to say, where it doesn't look 2D. If you look at it from a certain angle, it genuinely looks okay to me. You know, and the further you go, you've got 2D trees in the background, and they look fine. You can't see them up close, you know. At least they're there. It's another thing I feel like they kind of started with Rhine Austin, if I remember correctly, last year before, is they started this new thing with the foliage and the trees and the distant mountains, because in a lot of the routes up to then, anything in the extreme, you know, distant scenery just looked bad. It was plain, bland, there was nothing there. And they changed that. Now, routes kind of like Clinchfield, you know, which looks pretty damn good for the most part, you know, you're in hollows and mountains and valleys, so you don't see distant scenery like you do here. So, you know, this is where this comes into play, and it does a fairly decent job for what it's worth. But overall, it's just a really nice scenic route. Once you get out here out of Dresden, there's some weeds getting out of control on these roads here. I've noticed a lot of these houses and little neighborhoods and stuff that you'll notice as well if you play it. You know, they're not always like perfect right angles, 90 degrees, just blocks. You know, they're kind of curved or off kilter, if you will. They just look more natural. This here is an old station. I'm not sure what it is. I believe it's a station that probably serves this chemical plant down here, and it is no longer in operation, I think. Now, I distinctly remember this place from Train Sim Classic when I looked at this route, because I thought it looked pretty damn cool. I mean, you can see it's overgrown. Now, the green, you know, the grass, I'm not sure why they went with the grass. I would think it's just concrete, you know, with a butt ton of weeds everywhere. So why they went with straight grass, I don't know. I'm not sure if it looks like that, but it's a neat looking station in itself. Like, it definitely looks different. It's got these guards over some of the windows, chain link, and that's some pretty good looking chain link too, if I'm honest. But yeah, it kind of looks pretty much like it did in Train Sim Classic from what I can remember, because I immediately noticed this place when I blasted through it at Mach 3. But it's a good looking little area. I like the rundown old stuff. Let's see. Weissig Begrossenine. No clue. Not a clue what that means. But anyway. So back that way, Coastfix, Dresden. It's just wide open scenery, trees, fields, hills. Out here you can see they got some hay stacked and rolled up, which is pretty cool. You know, that happens on farms. All the little, you know, signage seems to be legit. You know, from what I know about the German stuff, for the most part, I don't know what these poles are, honestly. Again, as always, if I'm missing something or you have a question or an answer to anything I may spout out, please do feel free to comment. So anyway, yes, farm. This is our shunter, so you'll get services doing this. This is the tower that would control the interlocking, or, you know, were it to still control the interlocking or whatever. I'm not entirely sure. It obviously did at one point. I'm not sure if it still does at this very time. These little, I think these are like shunt signals or yard limit signals. It looks like a W, but it looks nice. It does look nice. So anyway, you run out here. Oh, please let us. I hope it lets us. Weissig Grossenine. So this is like the other end of that old derelict station down there. Couple of level crossings. So you can work in this area. Now, there are a couple of weird services in the timetable mode where you try to load up in here and it just puts you on foot and there are no trains to be seen. I've seen a couple people note something similar to what I'm talking about, so I'm assuming it's the same thing. Whether Dovetail knows, I don't know. Whether they know and they'll do something about it, probably not. But let's hope so. It's the most we can do. But anyway, this is a chemical plant that you can and will serve if you choose to do them, which again, it looks pretty damn good. I mean, it's you know, it's used, very industrious, all the little assets, the tanks, the pipes. It looks very well done. Got these trees over here on the hill. But you'll shunt tank cars in and out of here and essentially take them on to Riesa. Or you'll take tank cars from Riesa to here. But I bet this place would equally look cool at night as well. But it's huge. There's quite a bit of lines going in and out of this place. These towers look downright amazing. I mean, you know, some of the stuff that you can do with the Unreal Engine just looks really good. Now these cement storage towers, whatever those are, those look totally different. They look like they're from another game or something. They look very low poly or something compared to this other stuff. I don't know if you can kind of tell the difference what I'm talking about here, but anywho, this place is pretty cool. So here's a lot of the tank cars that you'll get to mess around with. They are not new. I think these came with Mein Spessart Bahn, possibly, but they did change some things. In fact, these may be totally different tank cars technically, but they're the same thing, same model. I don't remember the stuff on the top here, these valves, but they did add a couple of things of note, being able to change, I guess you could call it like brake retainers or something like that. So like this here, this is a brake selector between P and G. What that is, I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure it has something to do with brake force, you know, 100%, 90%, 60, so on and so forth. Were there a manual that covered stuff like this, that would be fantastic. Sure, some of the Dovetail associates and employees are kind of making videos or posts in their own time explaining some of this stuff, but I don't think that's enough. Okay, let's be completely honest here. Like any new person that's maybe playing this for the first time, they're not going to know to go look for something like that. Okay, start making manuals again, Dovetail, please. So there's that. Distributor cutoff, same deal. It either closes it or opens it. and then empty loads. So whether the tankers are full or empty, that's what you got there. And the brake pins actually do move. If I can find them. There they are. So those do go in and out as well, depending on what you do. So yeah, this is a nice area. This building right here, good God, I've seen this building all over the world. According to Dovetail, this building is in New York, Boston, Southern England, and Germany. So yeah, do a new office building, Dovetail. But everything else looks good. Like even these pits down here, man. This place looks really nice. It'd be kind of be cool just to walk around here. I remember when they made the oh, there's some cooling fans right there, I believe. I remember when they made the dock area in Mine Spencer Bond, and you could finally access it with trains. There were little places you could kind of walk around and explore, which were, you know, pretty neat. Because that's what I appreciate about Train Sim World, is the scale of it. Okay, if I want pure simulation, well, let me take that statement back. If I want better simulation, I usually go to Train Sim Classic, you know, of course with sounds and things as well. But you know, as far as scale and just the sheer size of stuff, and if I want to play a train sim, you know, where it's a little less serious, this is it. At least it is for me anyway. Got a crane over here. Not sure if it moves. Well, that does. Picking containers up and down. But this plant, I can't imagine how long it took to build this plant in itself, but it's pretty damn cool. So back out to our little shunter. It's essentially what you're going to be doing with it is taking, there goes a, excuse me, there goes a talent 2 right there, Teresa. This is pretty much what you're going to be doing with this thing the entire time, is just shunting stuff around the yard or taking tanks to and from this area, which is, you know, pretty cool variety. But anyway, that's it. Let's head to Riesa. Alright, and we are now pretty much at the end of the line, or one end of the line, if you will, in Riesa, to the north of Dresden, still kind of on the border of Poland and the River Elbe, which is over here as well. Those of you familiar with the states and the city Pittsburgh and the state Pennsylvania, you can kind of think of Riesa like that. It's a big steel industry here on the River Elbe. But this is the yard. It's just a, I believe it's a main, just kind of, you know, freight yard for the DB. You can see our train back there in the distance, the MRCE 185 with the intermodal train. Here's some of the tanks, like which you'll be taking to the chemical plant. Another old tower. I love how all the old towers are on this route. That's something I wish we could get more of, is a German route with a bit of age, you know. That would certainly be nice. Maybe even diesel, dare I say. Yeah, the smoky black stuff. But I got some more towers leading the other side of the yard there. But again, it's a massive yard. It looks like it was put together well for the most part. Back in here, you've got your steel works and steel plants. They are numerous. I cannot remember all of them at the time. I kind of had them jogged in my memory when I did the train sim version of this look. But so this must be the scrap plant right here, because that's all scrap, obviously. So there's one that takes in scrap, and there's one that turns, you know, pure steel, rolls, whatever, blocks out ingots. That's Riesa. That's this area. This is the station right here, Riesa Hbf. We got an ICE sitting here waiting to go. And again, the signals look nice. Now, I'm not terribly fluent, as I have mentioned several times, with the German signaling and routes, in Train Sim World especially. But I don't know that I've seen these before. I think they may be new or altered or something. Because there are parts of Germany in the network that that do have slightly different signals and masts and heads and things like that. I don't know, they just look different for some reason. You got a bit of the old platform here with a rusted steel and the planks of wood. Kind of look like creosote-soaked ties that we have here in the U.S. to me. But it looks nice. Unbefugten ist das Betreten der Bahnwagen verboten. Something forbidden. I know that much. Again, with the fencing over the windows for security and protection. It's a good-looking building. You know, if you kind of tweaked this in the right way in a photo editor, that could almost pass for realistic. It looks pretty nice at a distance, of course. Here's the overhang as well. You can tell it's a little bit different than the Dresden area. The poles here are rounded. Look like they're a little bit more aged compared to the stuff in Dresden. This cat right here looks like he's about to go boogie down in the disco. It's one hell of an outfit, dude. But yeah, it's a good looking area as well. Like I said, I feel like they always kind of focus on one town per route. But Riesa doesn't look bad, you know, not by a long shot. The station looks legit from what I know. This back here is kind of weird. But, you know, my argument with stuff like that is, are you really going to see it? Is it really part of operating a train? You know, if it's neither of those, then it doesn't really matter, does it? Big DB logo on the station. This over here is a bus station. Kind of looks incomplete, or maybe dirt. I'm not sure. Hey, there's a little 363 sitting over here. Nice. I do love this thing, man. This is another TSG add-on by, I've probably butchered his name 28 times. Mike Gotts. You know, he had a major hand in this thing, and just looking at it and listening to it, you can tell that it's a little bit different than the default stuff that Dovetail's given us time after time. Got this old thing here. Now, I am not entirely sure if this is water or sand. I'm going to take a stab at water, but that looks new. I don't know that I've seen this before in Train Sim World. Or I just haven't paid attention, if so. Anyway, we'll look at the map, show you where we're at. This is Riesa. It is massive. Like I said, huge steel town, steel industry. What sucks? Okay, so over here real quick. This is the River Elbe. Pretty much where this dot is right here. So Dresden is way back down yonder. The last little bit, we were right here at the chemical plant. There are a few things missing that were not present here that were present in Train Sim Classic. Over here, where this line goes, there was a massive, absolutely massive Chungus, thick boy, I believe ceramics factory. Just huge. And it's been completely neutered and clipped and cut right here. So there's nothing there. It's a dead end portal, whatever. Same thing with up here. I'm not sure. I haven't seen a service personally that goes up here, but there's another massive plant. It's like a sand... I know it sounds stupid saying it, or it does to me, a sand factory. I don't know if it just sounds weird to me saying sand factory, but I think it's something to do with sand. Anyway, some kind of chemical. Maybe they make glass. I don't know. Maybe they refine it for glass. But anyway, I think that was cut out. I may not be 1,000% sure on that. And one of the other last things over here that was cut out, sadly, is this line here. It continues on. There's a canal, a little cut out of the River Elbe right over here, which is right in here, I believe, which the railroad serves. And they load or unload barges that go back out onto the River Elbe and, you know, go north, south, wherever the hell they go. That was cut out. I felt like that would have been cool. It would have been reminiscent of the little port area in Schaffenburg on Main-Spessart-Bahn. But again, I don't think it made it here. They kind of had to pick and choose, you know, essentially like they did with the Clinchfield Railroad. I'm sure they're going to do the same thing with the Brighton line that comes whenever it comes. It's another tower. Now, the tower itself looks alright, but some of this stuff is weird. I'm not entirely sure if this is real. or if they just messed up, you know, what kind of color or pattern or design this should be. But it's like this weird reflective gold, and I don't know if that's real or not. I really don't, but it looks weird. I don't think it is. It just seems like it'd be very difficult to see. This here kind of looks like a Pizza Hut, but it looks good though. It's a nice looking little tower. Riesa again, gold. I love gold. But yeah. So that's kind of weird. Let's see if we can scooch over here on some of these spurs. Hopefully it won't boot us out of here. I do like the bridge here. The bridge is nice. It's got a funky shape to it. It's nice and clean. Ah, we got an ICE sitting in the yard back here with us. Also not sure if any of these bits of these steelworks are served. I would take a stab at no. You know, they kind of stick with a few areas on these routes, sadly, and that's pretty much all you get. I'm sure someone may be able to mod something at some point. I know people have already been able to make mods swapping out different freight, stock, you know, things like that. But yeah, this is Riesa. It's not a very large town. You know, pretty good size, I guess, mid-sized town. You see some turbines in the distance there, and here is the River Elbe once again. That way looking south, that way looking north. And you've got two separate bridges, which is kind of interesting. I don't know why they did this, but this is legit. One's white, one's blue. Although this looks kind of... it's like a blurple, like purple, light purple. But yeah, it's, you know, it's not the most in depth. You know, maybe you just notice the naturalness of the land here versus Dresden, because there's a lot more urban stuff going on in Dresden, but it looks very bland on, you know, how they do water meeting soil or whatever. Just does not look right. It's just like this perfect line. You can't see the riverbank underneath the water. It's just you know, it's never really looked good. It's nothing new here, but it'd be nice if that were somehow updated, just for when water is being traversed. You know, it just look a little bit better. You do have some of that sweet urban art, you know, if you're into that sort of thing, plastered all over the route in various spots. So the route continues on this way. This is basically east, and then it branches around to the right up here just before the turbines and heads to the south. The little overpass here. The road looks pretty jacked up right here, if I might add. That's, you know, when I see stuff like this, I think, did they even try? You know, they got a legit sign here, right? Which, you know, I don't know if this is a new thing, but I know just from Boston Sprinter, if you look at the road signals on I-95, you know, they're just generic. They say stupid things and they look stupid. This, you know, that's legit. So I don't know if that's a new thing specific to the route or what, but these roads, are those supposed to be roads? Are they bicycle paths? I don't know. They look stupid though. I do know that much. I'll just leave my half-hearted sigh and giggle to explain what I think of that. You know, but most of the farmland and everything looks alright. It really depends on the time of day that it is. You know, if you have any kind of settings, INI settings, if you're using PC, things like that. Should you have to do that stuff? No. Hell no. But if you have a PC, can you? If you want to make it look better, yeah. It's an option that's there. Here's another tower. You will see that a lot of these are different. You know, whether the building itself is the same, the colors are different, the signs are different, legit. Ruderal. Some of them you can go through, like they don't have that weird anti-clipping thing. But yeah, another level crossing. There is a ton of these. A lot of them look pretty good for the most part. So right here to the left goes off to what I was talking about. I think is like, I don't know why I want to say it's a sand factory. There we go. There goes a IM train right there. So those right in the middle of the screen, dead center, is two pretty massive light masts. And you can just kind of see the facility up there. I'm afraid to go too far because it'll boot us out of the game. It'll be like, you've reached the end of the represented area. Here's the menu. Alright, so you can go to it. Yes, and it is. It's sand. Sweet Jeebus. I thought it was sand something. It looks like sand. But anyway, I'm not sure if you can do anything here, honestly. It doesn't look like, you know, there's any way the rail is served. Not sure what's going on. But they put the building there. For goodness sake, I guess. I don't know. But, it's another tower. Totally different looking as well. Overall, I don't think it's any better than the Train Sim Classic version. In fact, if I had to recommend one of the two, I would wholeheartedly recommend the Train Sim Classic version. It's routes like that in Train Sim Classic that get me into more of the European stuff. Because it is a really nice route. But, you know, if you only got one option, this is pretty good. And again, you know, if you have the season ticket, it's basically 3 routes for the price of 1. You can't really go wrong with that. If you want to buy them individually, that's your prerogative, which is totally fine. You know, if you're not into American or British stuff, then, you know, it's pretty much your only choice if you don't want a bunch of extra content that's just going to be sitting there collecting dust. But, you know, overall I think it's a pretty decent route. Now, as far as things like the signaling and the PZB safety systems and stuff like that, I've ran a little bit of that since I've had the route personally. And I haven't had any issues. No issues aside from me not knowing what the hell to do sometimes with PCB, but that's got nothing to do with the route itself. So I can't attest to something like that. I feel like every German route that comes out for Train Sim Classic or Train Sim World 2, there's always someone or everyone talking about, you know, PCB or signaling being borked to some degree. But someone like me who doesn't really know that much about the German stuff to begin with, I never really know, and I feel like Dovetail banks on stuff like that. You know, just like Boston Sprinter with ATC and ACSES. Right now, it's broke. It's broken. There's a lot of broken stuff in it. To people that don't know a lot about American stuff, realize that? Probably not. They may see people talking about it, but so on and so forth. You get my gist. That's why, you know, some people will rivet count some things more than others. Like, I feel like here for me, I can just enjoy this route because I'm not going to rivet count it because I can't. You know, compared to say like an American route where I may be a little bit more critical. Of course, I try not to be. You know, there's enough bitch fest going on and discords and forums and streams and all that. So I just try to enjoy my time. But anyway, that is going to do it for the look at what is it, Nahverkehr Dresden. I keep getting it wrong. I think it's Nahverkehr, something like that. Anyway, so yeah, that's the route. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found it somewhat informative. I hope to be making more videos as time goes on. I'm still trying to get, you know, still trying to get the new computer's feet wet, if you will, with getting into things. But that is going to do it for now, guys. I do appreciate your time. And I will see you later. Thanks, guys.